we can't. But yeah, so I'm rereading the case now to understand it well. I didn't understand so well, but yeah, I think I'm doing now.
Very good. All right, Norma, let me go ahead and start the recording. Are you there? Did we lose her? While we're waiting for Norma to come back, this assignment was a little bit ambiguous. I'm having a really hard time with it. Anybody else?
I think that we just need to talk about the case and just discuss about some topics here, like, well, what is really going on in the case, what is interesting about it, how would you start a discussion, and what conclusions can we reach? Well, just that.
Well, like for specifically, whenever it asks for a situation analysis, what does that mean? Does anybody know what that is? No?
No, well,
On
here
the
we have some.
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah.
Where is that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see if I can.
Was that asked on the analysis questions?
Yeah.
There are like 5 questions we need
Which
to
number is
talk
that?
about.
So it asks for position, situation analysis, objectives and goals, action plan, evidence, risk assessment, and references. So, oh, Norma, we got you back.
Oh, okay.
Let me start recording. Norma, can you hear us? Did you find it, Karin?
Really use the mouse.
Is it the first question?
Go back and forth between the 2 screens.
So if you look at, I just closed this, hold on, sorry. Let me get back into my dashboard. We can't hear you, Norma. Let me pull this up so that you can see what we're talking about. Okay. All right, so these are the questions specifically for the write-up, the position, situation analysis, objectives and goals, action plan. And further down, it gives a little bit of an explanation.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the right.
I think like the position is whose side are you on? Like there's 3 people in the case. There's Green, there's Davis and McDonald, I think, or I don't know.
I think
So
that's
you have like the employee, the boss, and then the boss's boss. And you're trying to see like whose side are you going to take? Who do you agree with? Who do you think is right?
okay. So
I mean, that's what I get out of it anyways.
anybody else have a thought? No?
Where
Yeah.
is this situation very close? Sorry, I haven't looked at this. I look at it after our.
Who has control of the screen right now?
I do.
Go up. And then click on the criteria for a great case write-up. Like there's a little bit more information in there.
Oh, good. Because I was. Oh. 'Cause,
Oh,
Or is that the same thing?
okay.
it's just in a little bit of a different format.
Oh,
Objectives, goals, summarize.
yeah, pretty much says what's in the rubric. Eh?
Yeah, and then it has to be less than 1,500 words, which generally speaking, I'm totally fine with, but with this, I was like thinking, I'll be wordy with it, so that I make sure that if I don't hit it in one point, maybe I'll hit it somewhere. But
The way to go.
Can you hear me now?
now we can hear you, Norma.
Yeah, I had to switch computers again.
I am so sorry. That's been such a hard thing for you.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe something wrong with my internet connection causing problems. I'm not sure.
We were just talking about trying to understand these objectives.
Yeah, okay. So what did you guys come up with?
Not much.
I kind of
So-
think the situation analysis, I mean, that's like, I guess the Mr. Green got hired into a position that he wasn't exactly qualified for.
Yep.
He's just not getting along with his boss. Even though the guy above him kind of gave this position to him. I was hoping that something good would work out from it, but I don't know. They
Was
just have too
McDonald a
many.
chick? Was McDonald a chick?
Yes.
Yes.
So it goes McDonald, Davis.
Then Frank
Yeah.
Davis, is he the middle guy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Frank Davis.
So for the position, we're actually looking at what the root cause problem was. So maybe it was the fact that he wasn't qualified for his job.
And
Because
yeah, that's one. The other one is maybe Davis isn't like listening to Green and doesn't want to take his viewpoint. So that's another position, I guess.
I definitely think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I think part of the reason why that is because McDonald hired someone who wasn't qualified or unqualified aside. It sounded like Frank was under the impression that he would be able to hire that person. So I think from the get, him not being able to hire that person, whether they're qualified or not, is kind of beside the point. I think he was kind of disgruntled with him just because he wasn't able to hire him. And then for the first budget meeting, for him to kind of stand up to him and disagree with him, I think it kind of just pushed him over the edge. So I personally don't think that he should have put his foot down and said, sorry, there's no way we're going to meet those goals. I understand that he was, getting a pretty high, 10, 11, 12%. His boss was saying that he should be able to make that much money extra that year. And I just don't think that he should have maybe spoken out about that. I think maybe they should have discussed it ahead of time before the meeting, but not in front of everyone.
So he shouldn't have openly challenged him. Should have done it one-on-one.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard because they were setting those goals in front of everyone. So I think after the meeting, they kind of would have been set in stone. I think Frank should have probably talked to Thomas ahead of time, and they should have gone over their budget before the meeting.
It sounds like Davis had prepared the budget prior to Davis had prepared the budget prior to Green being hired.
Mhm.
So he probably felt quite a bit of ownership of them. And I think, like you said, from the get-go, if you don't feel comfortable or happy with what's going on, then you kind of don't care what the other guy thinks. Okay.
Yes.
And then from what it looks like, after we identify the situation analysis, at that point, we set some objectives and goals to work on those particular identified issues. It looks like, does this mean that we need two? So it's 1 and 2. So is that 2 goals or objectives? Identifies at least 2 goals.
Yeah, it looks like it. For each cause main problem. Mm.
The numbering is what gets me. I don't understand. Okay, now that I'm rereading this, I think I understand. So we set the objectives and goals and then how we're going to do it. Is that right?
Yeah. Absolutely not.
So something that I don't understand, and as I was reading, and I see it as a problem, but I don't know whose side or whose fault it is, but Green continually goes on trips or he doesn't email back. He's non-communicative, but yet then he's going behind Davis's back trying to rally folks into his court. I see that as a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, communication is a big issue because Davis didn't know where Green was or what he was doing at all. And he had outlined what he was supposed to be doing, but Green could have said, "Oh, I'm not going to be doing that. I'll be doing this." Or, I mean, he should have done some sort of communication.
Yeah, I think their main problem was a lack of communication because Davis mentioned that Green didn't respond to any of his projections. And then Green never tried to reason with Davis and just went straight to someone above Davis's head, you know, like tried to convince McDonald's to see things his way instead of getting to the root cause of the problem.
That's interesting because we just talked about how Davis didn't communicate with Green. Now Green's not communicating with Davis.
Yeah, lack of communication between both of them.
Yeah, I think did it say they both started to avoid each other later? Or was it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Green avoiding Davis?
I thought it was Green.
We got 8 minutes left on this.
Yes, on this particular.
So- we
So
would need another link. So should I make another link and shall we come back in?
What I've done before is I just exit the meeting and then just click on the link again to go back in.
So
That
should we all
usually
leave the
works.
meeting and come back in?
well, let's wait for like 5 minutes. We'll get a little closer to our time, but we'll go off at 3 minutes. See what we can get done in 5 minutes.
Because we need an hour footage, don't we,
Mhm.
to send off.
Well, we need enough time to go over everything in the case write-up. So I don't think it has to be specifically an hour, but just enough time to go over everything.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll get that done in 5 minutes. So
For sure.
we'll just exit out and then come back in just a few minutes.
Okay.
So talking about conflict or pulling back, what do you feel like the conflict styles were for each?
Where's my word? Is this like the styles that we learned in the leadership that gets results?
Can you say that again, Karin?
So you know how we had that read up at the start, like our first week, I think, and it was leadership that gets results. And it talks to us about the styles. Are we talking about that?
I don't know.
So I just thought that Davis had more of an authoritative style. Like, yeah. Oh no, coercive, actually, do what I say. Yeah, it was like a what I say. And because he didn't give Green much time, you know, Green didn't really do it, or like showed him how to do things
Yeah.
as well. And also I felt that Green was more of a like a authoritative style person, like he goes off what everyone thinks about him, because that's what I envisioned him to be like with the reading, is that he was kind of put off with like working properly because of what Davis was wanting from him. Like he was asking him for reports and saying to him like, you don't get back to me, you don't tell me your schedule, which kind of affected him. And that's, yeah, what they kind of like, the authoritative style. They're more about people liking them. And when they don't have that kind of result from other people, they kind of don't correct the problems. Yeah, because he didn't really correct any problems.
Yeah.
Like he didn't produce those reports. He was like, oh, it's like a political thing. I'm not political, you know. He didn't believe in producing reports. He was like, it's in my head, so what's the point?
Yeah.
which is not good.
Could you imagine that? Like, how would you sit with a straight face and somebody say, well, it's in my head?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's awful. Oh, that would be awful.
Yeah. But I liked his confidence, but as Davis was on his back, his confidence went down, you know. He started to worry and just think about like, where did everything go wrong? Well, first off, it went wrong when you didn't communicate, when you didn't answer back, you know, reply and or produce the reports that you were asked. So yeah, but the more he was getting pestered from Davis, he just went totally downhill real quick. Yeah.
And I think that's where the evidence comes in, and with like going back to what you were saying, Karin, about going back to the different things that we've had, the different lessons we've had, using those as references to that evidence and making sure that we properly show that reference.
Mhm.
Evidence come from outside sources besides the case study itself.
Yeah. But yeah, they were totally different. Their styles are totally different. They're not on the same page.
Yeah, so I think that's probably where that goes. And then risk assessment, that's, I don't know, when I was reading through this, I was just like, how are we, what is this? I don't understand. I usually try to have the write-up done before we come in, but I just.
Okay.
Likely risks.
So the risk assessment was, we were supposed to come up with two things that could possibly go wrong, right? On the solutions that we wanted. So the two solutions I had, I was kind of a softie, and I'm not sure if I should have gone this route, but I thought that some good could come from Thomas going to Frank and apologizing to him. And I know technically he didn't do anything wrong. It was in his right because it was his territory that was being talked about in the budget. He was in his right to express his own ideas. But I just think with where they're at right now, him and Frank's relationship could really improve if he went and just said, hey, man, I'm sorry I, questioned what you were saying at the meeting in front of everyone. I know I'm new and I'm learning. Maybe next time in the future, we can, discuss the proposed budget ahead of time, plan it together, come up with it together, whatever. But as far as now, I think it'd be good to probably just apologize and be like, hey, do you want to go to lunch? Maybe just get to know him a little bit better. Because it seems like Frank's the type of boss, like maybe other bosses who like to maybe feel in control of his people. Not necessarily controlling every little detail, but I think Frank is kind of doing that right now. But I think he could take a few steps back if he just knew that Thomas was trying to do what he wanted. And it seems like he's given pushback with his schedule and his calendar and all that. I just think it'd do some good to show Frank that he's willing to do some of these things that he wants him to be doing.
And to be the one to step up, I think is a good thing too. That's a good thought.
So the risk that I had with that assessment, the first risk was he's admitting that he is at fault, obviously. And right now, when Shannon is trying to decide, if Frank's building a case against him behind, in the shadows about firing him, then coming and admitting guilt or for doing something wrong could just be kind of like another nail in his coffin. So that's the risk that I found with that. It's kind of risky to admit that you're at fault.
That's true. That's true. All right. Are we ready to bounce out and bounce back in?
Mhm.
All right. Let's see if we can get it to work. All right. See you in a minute.